Hey, hello, and how are you? Welcome back to another edition of Leading the Charge, the podcast. I'm Dom Tibbetts, joined as always by my co-host, brother Bill. Monday Night Football, 24-14. Football was played. I don't know if the Buffalo Bills knew what they were doing in the first half, but they fall to 4-2 overall, their second straight loss. If you looked at the standings today, the Buffalo Bills would be second in the AFC East, Bill. They would lose the tiebreaker, obviously, to the Patriots following their loss last Sunday. And I know we're in week 6, but if the season did end today, the Bills would be the 5th seed in the AFC playoffs if it ended today. Not good. I don't know where to start. Today is kind of like a therapy session, I think, for Bills fans out there because this team looked lost in the first half, no rhythm on offense except for the opening drive there too. Drake London and Bijan Robinson. I mean, those are your two playmakers, right? They controlled nearly 300 yards of offense just by themselves in this. 335 yards of total offense by the Atlanta Falcons in the first half. Then the defense kind of figures it out in the second half, Bill, but the offense lets them down. The everybody eats. I'll put up 30 points with Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman and James Cook, who didn't play all that much and had a 52% snap count in this one. The list and bullet points just go on and on and on. It's even tough to just generally sum up the baffling play that was last night. How do you even start the conversation of where things went wrong?
Man, I don't know. It's just so frustrating. It's like it just is so just maybe ironic or something when the first 4 episodes of our podcast and we're like sitting here kind of nitpicking and we're like, but we're undefeated. We don't want to really do this. Like we'd be off air even being like, should we be this negative? But like the writing was on the wall. Like the team did not look good. We barely beat the Saints. We squeaked by the Dolphins. Like these are bad football teams. And we were just getting by. We got outplayed for 3.5 quarters of the Ravens game. And now we're playing teams that had like the Patriots are good. The Patriots are coming. Like Drake May is good. They have solid players around them. They have a really good coach. And then you have the Falcons who you have Michael Penix, who's a big question mark. And they put a ton of money or a ton of draft capital in their defense because their defense is terrible. Lo and behold, theirs is probably working out a little better than ours has. And they have playmakers. Like they have Drake London. They have dudes, right? Like they just have straight up dudes who will make the play that we just don't seem to have. And I love that everybody eats ideas great and everything. It's fun when it's working, but you need someone who can eat a little bit more than somebody else sometimes. And I just don't know who that is here. Like Josh and James, obviously, who they decided to keep off the field for half the game, barely played in the last quarter, who came out of the second half with his hair on fire, basically, kind of got us down the field on that possession. And then he just doesn't see the field. I just don't know. I see there's problems pretty much everywhere from coaching to defense, offense. Like I don't see where it's really working right now. Nothing really looks like it's clicking.
Yeah, this team is they look lost, they look broken. And I know we're 6 games in. This bye week could not be better timed right now because they're also banged up too. I mean, the injuries piled up. You didn't have Dalton Kincaid and Curtis Samuel going into this one. You lost Daquan Jones in pregame warmups. Sean McDermott says Daquan popped his calf. That doesn't sound good at all. So like, I'm not a medical professional, but that does not sound good too. So a defensive position group that was already so thin, razor thin, mind you, you had to have Javon Solomon working in the defensive tackle group. And at Curtis' credit, he had a Greg Rousseau forced pressure in that first quarter sack, but he got a partial sack out of it too. So guys stepped up. I'm not taking that away too. I think the best way to attack this, Bill, is just go chronologically, like start in the beginning and we'll work our way towards the end of the game. And obviously the Bills this year have had a tendency on defensively. They have let up opening drive touchdowns to their opponents in almost every game. The offense has responded, though, with opening drive touchdowns in all but every game except for the Patriots. So I look defensively, and I look at what the Falcons were able to do so well, and that's they ran it down the Bills' throat with Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier ran in the first touchdown. But also just Drake London. Like you talk about having like a guy, like a playmaker, dudes. I think the first 6 catches by a Falcons wide receiver, not Bijan Robinson or Algier, a wide receiver, was to Drake London. You would think without Darnell Mooney or anybody else, Kyle Pitts was irrelevant in this game. You would think maybe the Bills defense would do something where you take away your top wide receiver threat on the opposing offense. But Drake London just had a day too, and it's a back-to-back week of, like you mentioned, a playmaking wide receiver one, the thing that can't talk about with the Bills offense, making a play. 146 yards, 10 receptions. That was Stephon Diggs a week ago. Drake London, 100 and hold on, let me get the actual right stat here. 158 yards, 10 catches, 1 touchdown. That's a recipe for disaster right there. Bijan Robinson, 19 carries, 170 yards, 1 touchdown. So right off the gates, the Bills defense couldn't stop anybody. And they're Drake London from stepping out of bounds away from going down 3 touchdowns at the end of the first half too. It was bad. And we'll get into the second half about the adjustments that I think they made too. But you talk so much about a team, like you mentioned, that made all this draft capital and this investment in that side of the ball, Bill. You're just not seeing it out there. This team just doesn't look like they have, any sort of identity or any sort of playmaker on defense that can change the trajectory of a game.
Yeah, and I mean, they love their rotations on offense and defense. It's almost like I feel like I'm watching like the Sabres or something, like a hockey team, with the way like people just kind of like rotate in, rotate out, and it's like I don't know if we have the dudes to even be great with our main like starters. Like,
right.
Why are we rotating? Like, that kind of frustrates me. I don't get it. Like, let your guys play. Let your best players be on the field. I think I know we want to start from the beginning, but I remember there's one play towards the very end of the game where like Landon Jackson was in the game on that. I think it was the Algier touchdown or somewhere around there. And I'm just like, dude, like this is a crucial third down like situation. Like, I just don't get it. But yeah, like the defense was getting just tossed over. I think Bijan had like 50 yards receiving as well on top of his 180 rushing yards. So
yeah, 68 receiving yards, 6 catches too. Just absolutely shredding it. Congrats to anybody who had him on a fantasy lineup last night. And I'm very sorry to anybody who is a Bills fan and also had to go up against Bijan Robinson in a fantasy matchup last night. Honestly, Bill, don't even worry about sticking to it. I'm trying to go chronologically to organize all the thoughts I have. But if we need to bounce around, it is what it is, because that's just the truth with how things went last night. It was just beyond puzzling. Can't believe some of the things that we saw.
I'm just so frustrated right
now. It's right to be frustrating. I mean, because like we've been nitpicky of this team, right, the past couple of weeks, but then they were 4-0, and it's like, okay, it's just that's what good teams do. You can nitpick a good team. That wasn't a good performance last night, and there are now major signs of concerns, right? And I get it. The injuries really, really hurt this team and to start this one off, and you didn't have some playmakers on offense. Kincaid's been having a good year, and you didn't have that. Dawson Knox looked good on the first drive. They were able to move the ball down the field. But that's where I think the biggest concern I take away is the offense out of all of this too, because you go into that second half, the defense did make the adjustments. And the thing that has always been so reliable, which is, put the ball in Josh Allen's hands, let him go to work. James Cook, like you mentioned, 53%, it was 52.6% snap count. So we'll round that up to 53 just to give him the benefit of a doubt here. The thing that's been so reliable just wasn't there last night. I mean, you score 30 plus points in your first 4 games, and you've dropped down to 20 and then 14 in your next 2. Listen, when everybody eats, Bill, we've said it. It's great. Awesome. Make it work, whatever you need. If Khalil Shakir is your leading wide receiver, if it's Elijah Moore or Tyrell Shavers, Keon Coleman, if it's James Cook, whatever it may be, right? But when nobody's eating, like people are like, that was Bijan Robinson and Drake London were stuffed last night.
Yeah.
They took all the fixings off the table. and that's just like, you look at, I go back to like comparing the stats of Drake London and Stephon Diggs. Maybe it's time to have that conversation about, trying to bring in a like perennial number one threat, somebody that puts fear into an opposing defense. Because Josh Allen does that. And regardless of how bad things may be, Josh Allen's always going to have that effect for an opposing defense. But if you're a DC, you're just going to be like, okay, I just got to find a way to limit Josh Allen. Maybe they just take James Cook out of their own way on offense, and then the rest of it, there's not a receiver that you're like, okay, like just keep Khalil Shakir from getting 10 plus yards after the catch. After that, what else? What else do they have? What else? If you're like a defensive coordinator, Bill, what else is striking fear into you? Probably nothing, right?
No, nothing outside of Josh and James. But I mean, the Bills do half the work for you when they're keeping James on the sideline for bulks of the game. Yeah, I guess for me right now, it's like the bye week's here. Obviously, there's injuries, there's suspended players coming back that we talked about. But again, like these aren't world breakers. These are rotational pieces that might help and be a positive a little bit, but they're not people who are going to come in and wreck the game, at least in my opinion. But it's like, how willing are we to make a change, to like admit like maybe this offseason wasn't what we thought. This draft class isn't coming along as fast as we expected. How willing are you to say that and do something about it? Because I guarantee you the Eagles are going to do something about what's happening. Howie Roseman does it every season. He goes like, all out to try to keep his team competitive. And I don't know. I don't know if we see that ever from us, or if they love this. This is kind of their plan that's come to fruition, is this like rotational wide receivers, rotational defensive line, like no star, I guess, on the receiving end. Like, I don't know. It's just, is this the plan, and is this what it looks like, or are you able to step back and change some things and make some plays? Like, I mean, CJ Gardner-Johnson, you can grab off the Ravens practice squad. I know he's got some character stuff, but like, he's been on Super Bowl teams. He's been starter and good on a Super Bowl team last year. He's athletic. He's a good safety. There's players out there that I feel like can help, that you don't even have to trade for like that. Like, but yeah, I don't know. I think there does need to be at least 3 moves made. Like, I think there's holes, receiver, to secondary, maybe cornerback and safety. So I'm just kind of hoping over this bye week that we see something happen, something click and change and move in a good direction. Because I don't know.
Yeah, if you're Brandon Beane, I don't know how you look at this roster and say, yeah, this can be a roster that wins a Super Bowl. Like, I get injuries. You have Hoyt and Ogunjobi coming back, but those aren't, like you said, there aren't game records. Those aren't going to be needle movers. Those are just nice reserve pieces. I think Hoyt will be a nice addition on the edge. And obviously last night, like, Ogunjobi would have been very nice to have, considering the fact that you lost Daquan Jones before this game started. The other thing that like people will bring up too when it comes to like the Bills and their ability to make moves is the cap space. And this is just, I'm looking at Spot Track right now. It's what I was looking up while you're making that point, Bill. So the Bills, according to Spot Track, have about $2.1 million in cap space to work with. It's not all that much. It's one of the worst cap spaces in the league. But it does always feel like there are moves and ways, different things you can do to help facilitate some sort of move that helps you move the needle, whether that's helping on the offensive side, the defensive side. And you bring a good point too. Let's just say the Bills go out and make a move, but let's just say they got to make very limited. It's a one move thing or a 2 move thing. There's multiple areas that need it. You can make the argument for, like you said, any help in the secondary, a wide receiver, defensive tackle, even the linebacker group. Like, Terrell Bernard went down with an injury last night. And that's going back to that whole injury discussion too. Like, it's one of those things where you're kind of scratching your head at like, how could you look at this roster? How could you look at the way things went last night and be like, yeah, down the line, we'll get it figured out after the bye week. I do think there will be a good reset. Like, the Bills have been good off of the bye. I also said last week, I think on the podcast, the Bills have been good off of losses. They were 15-4 since 21. That now they have back-to-back losses again for like the 3rd or 4th straight season here. So I'm sitting here wondering like what can be done, what needs to be done, because there is a lot of things. And I look back at this game too, and aside from all that, like, you want to talk about ways that the Bills beat themselves up. 8 penalties, 64 yards. I think at one point last night, it might have been in the third quarter, somebody had, I think it was Dan Orlovsky on the broadcast, tweeted that the Bills had 22 or 23 penalties in the last 3 games. Like, that's not helping it. Like, McDermott preaches the discipline, the penalties, and all that, but that has just been a constant storyline we have talked about over the past couple of weeks. I asked Joe Brady about this 2 weeks ago. The Bills let up, it was after the Saints game. I think Josh was sacked 4 times after the Saints game. Obviously, he faced a little bit of pressure. I don't have the number in front of me for how many times he was sacked against New England, but he was sacked 4 times again last night too. The offensive line is a good unit. We all know they are, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but we're talking about the fact that Josh Allen's been sacked almost more in the last 3-4 games than he has all of last season. There's something going on with the offensive line and just the way that his confidence in the pocket. I mean, he's another game with an interception, two interceptions in this one. There's that shot, I think, of when he got off the field after the Elijah Moore 3rd and 1 jet sweep, which we will get into here. Where, like, I don't know if you saw this, Bill, like on the broadcast, he's just sitting with like dejection on the bench. And I said it to you before we started recording the podcast. The moment a couple years ago when Sam Darnold was with the Jets and the mic caught him saying like, "Oh, I'm just seeing ghost out there." Josh Allen was staring into nothing, into La La Land yesterday. It just looked like he had no answers, like he had no help. The appearance is always at like, doesn't look like anybody is open. He doesn't have any receivers that are making plays for him. And he'll shoulder all the blame like he did again last night after the game. But yeah, it just goes to show that there has to be some sort of change. And I don't know what the Bills can or will do in terms of like going out and making a free agent pickup or a trade or whatever it may be. The name everybody throws out is trying to go get like Chris Olave from the Saints or Rashid Shaheed from the Saints as well. Go pick apart a team that doesn't really have a chance in contending this year, that's in a rebuild. There's a lot of different ways you can go with it. But yeah, I mean, something has to change here, and it's definitely just it's puzzling. It's a concern, and I'm rambling because like I'm also like venting the fact that like I was up till 12:30 writing articles last night, and I'm just like I'm sitting here wondering like why are we having these discussions still? why do we keep having to have these discussions? I don't know, Bill. Did I miss anything in there on that point?
No, that was good. I just onto what you said a little bit, just with like, the O-line's good. We know that. We feel confident in that group, and just the pressure Josh is getting. And I just think back to, years ago when you had the John Browns and the Emmanuel Sanders and the Cole Beasleys and the Diggs, and it always felt, even Gabe, it always felt like when Josh rolled out, it was like new life. Like he's rolling out, something's going to happen. Something good's going to happen. This, like, he can evade pressure. These guys are crafty. They figure out space. They figure out how to make it easy on the quarterback, really, when he rolls out, what we're trying to do. And that's like my biggest confusion. And like, again, I don't watch like all 22 stuff, so maybe I'll see it on the timeline today and stuff to get more of a diagnosis of like why this hasn't been happening. But yeah, like he extends a play, or I mean, maybe even sometimes he might bail on a pocket that shouldn't be bailed on, to be honest. But it doesn't seem like anyone's like rolling with him or finding a quick way to get open, like we saw Diggs do a billion times last week on us. Like that's part of, I mean, having Josh is that like extra for that, like, yeah, he can escape the pocket and you just gotta try to get open. I think the only play I can think of was his weird backhand flip that he tried to flip like 7 yards like
to Johnson.
Like, why? Yeah. Like I was literally trying to do like physics, like breakdown of like, is it easier? Like, was it faster to do that? Like, why couldn't you have just thrown it like a dart real fast?
Yeah.
Like, I just, oh man, that was puzzling. That was one of the more confusing plays to me. And one of the, I don't love blaming Josh because he is so good and he's so much of what makes this team good, but I did not like that. I didn't get it. I was literally trying to I think I went on Twitter and asked for advice on like, hey,
you did. Oh, I 100% saw that tweet. Brother Bill's out here about to hit up your old band teacher and be like, hey, can you give me the contact of my physics teacher as well? Because I got some questions.
Because I wasn't even joking. I just truly I was like, there must be a reason why he went that route. I don't know. I don't get it. Oh, man. But yeah, we forgot about the jet sweep too. That's been one of my least favorite things of this season so far has been the jet sweep.
It didn't work for Khalil Shakir in the New Orleans game. It didn't work for Dawson Knox, and it resulted in a turnover against New England Sunday night last week. And then it didn't work for Elijah Moore. It almost resulted in another turnover on the bobble.
Kind of impressive that he just kind of dribbled it right back. Like, that's really hard to do. Not that it was good in any means, but it was impressive that we didn't lose that fumble because I rarely have seen the ball just like get dribbled like a basketball right back into somebody's hands.
We asked Joe Brady about it. I remember after the Dawson Knox one last week, and because Sean McDermott had said last week after the game that it was that play call was maybe a little like there were some plays that were a little bit too cute, and that was one of them. We asked Joe Brady, and I think this was Jay Skursky from the Buffalo News asked Joe Brady, do you think that play was too cute? And Joe Brady was like, well, define cute, which was very funny to like hear an NFL offensive coordinator say to another grown man, like, well, define cute. It was very, very funny moment amidst all that too. But well, that's for just Sean McDermott's words. And Joe said the same thing that Josh said last night when Josh was asked about it by our friend Mike Catalano was, do you think that play call was a little bit too cute? It's 3rd and 1. My thought is, hey, maybe it's a little bit too far for the tush push. And I get it. The Bills might be trying to steer away from that this year. That's okay. Hand the ball off. And guess what? If you don't get it, Bill, do it again.
Yeah.
Again. Josh asked about that play. He said the same thing Joe said, which is if it works, he basically had hindsight 2020. If it works, nobody questions it. If it doesn't work, then it's a bad play. That's a very offensive mindset of how to approach that play. And I get where they're coming from, but I agree with McDermott because he also said when asked about that play yet again, he says, we have to be better. We have to be better. I agree with McDermott there. Hindsight is 2020. I'll give Joe Brady and Josh Allen credit there, but it isn't working. Like this is 3 straight games now where that play just hasn't worked. Maybe it'll work in a different situation, but 3rd and 1 when you've got to move the sticks and get another and get a first down to keep mounting the comeback that you're on. It's puzzling. And I don't know what metrics or like what the analytics are telling them that like this is a good play here. Maybe run it in a different situation, but 3rd and 1, I am just puzzled that we are going back to the well, and that's what we are pulling back out of the water is that play.
Especially like, dude, like these situations, right? 3rd and 1, whatever that was, like you have Josh Allen, you have James Cook, like these are your guys, like that is who I'm banking on, like making this play happen. I'm not gonna count on like freaking like a trick play with a 5th string receiver, like or your backup tight end. Like it's just delusional kind of. Like this is the guy I saw dig a ball out of 7 300-pound men on Thanksgiving Day and fling another dude 7 yards to get the first down. Like you have a cheat code, you have a unicorn, you have like a human wrecking ball at quarterback, and you have one of the best running backs in the league. Like make it happen. You carry a fullback still. Half the teams don't. Use your fullback. If you want to, have extra blockers in or whatever, use Ray Davis and do like a wishbone. I don't know. Like James Cook needs to be on the field. I want to see the playmakers that are true playmakers and the studs on the team be counted on when like you need it the most.
I think there was like earlier in the year, we were like, okay, James Cook is like pounding the rock. This guy he's getting high snap count. It's up. He's doing well. And I think like the early concern was like, oh, can he sustain this usage? I think Sean McDermott or Joe Brady, they heard that and were just like, you know what, actually, let's save him. Let's actually take away one of the best assets of our offense too. Because to your point too, he came out, I think James Cook's yard per average on carries in the second half was above 5 yards. Like he was looking with no pun intended there even. But like it's the acronym that I always go back to, which I think a coach of mine told me once, is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I'm a Madden couch guy. I totally understand that I will have no earthly business talking about offensive scheme and what you should be doing in certain situations. But that one, I feel like that acronym works. Keep it simple. Just hand the ball off, run it with Josh Allen, run it with James Cook. And if it doesn't work on 3rd and 1, you just do it again. The Bills are doing that thing, Bill, where they're getting in their own way.
Yes. And
that's what's I think that's what's frustrating for us watching this game, for people who have to cover it, for fans who are at home watching this, is just you're so baffled because you watch the unicorn, the MVP, just do constantly like I go back to that pass real quick, the Khalil Shakir incompletion that he couldn't get both feet and bound for, but he threw that back shoulder like fading away, and I don't know how Josh got that ball off. Very remnant of the Dalton Kincaid drop in the AFC Championship game. Like, you can't believe he got that off. But you got a guy who can do that, and it just feels like this team cannot help themselves but to just shoot themselves in the foot time and time again.
Yeah, and like you're right, because I remember seeing press conference of Brady and McDermott, I want to say maybe after the Saints game, where they were asked about like James Cook usage. And as a fan, I'm sitting here 4 weeks in being like, James Cook's a top 3 running back in the league. He's torching everybody. He's scoring every game. He's got 100+ rushing yards. And they were up there talking about we need to work on getting that back down to where we had it last year, like stuff along those lines. Mm-hmm. And it is just so classic them. I hate being super anti the coaching staff and everything, but if you followed me, you know kind of how I feel about this regime. And dude, it reminds me a lot like Josh too. When like Josh would have these heroic plays and you get to the end of your press conference and Bean and McDermott are kind of like, oh, we need him to stop doing this. We need him to, dude, no, that's the reason we were good. Like, that's what makes him good. That's what makes us good. I like, why are you trying to, what's the other guy's quote? Like, he's a peacock. You have to let him fly. Like, you're trying to clip the peacock's wing.
You gotta let me fly.
Yeah. Like, that's what, how do you look at what James Cook was doing in the first 4 weeks and are anything but ecstatic over the deal you just got him to sign? Like, you just paid this man for pennies on the dollar for what he's worth from what he was playing like. And now you're just bringing him back to his rotational running back role. And same thing with Josh. Like, I don't know. I'm not complaining about Josh. Josh is the MVP. He's amazing. But, you see Drake May last week. You watch Jackson Dart on Thursday Night Football. And I'm sitting there a little bit like, this kind of reminds me of the way Josh was kind of like, and I know we want to tone into
20 Ascension Josh.
Yeah, like you have like, and I'm not saying like they're the players that he is or anything like that, but just that attitude that I do feel like is a little stripped down. And I think it comes from the top. Like I've seen it. I've heard it with my own ears. I just don't get that. Like, let your guys be great. Let them do what makes them great. Let them do what got them here and got them successful. I don't know.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and you just feel like I have just been rambling on points all podcast long, but that's just how it is here too. And to support your point though, Bill, like the Baltimore game is a little bit of an anomaly because the Bills went down so early that like, all right, James Cook and his volume wasn't. I mean, he had a little more success almost in the receiving game in that one. Actually, he did based on yards. But then the Jets, the Dolphins, the Saints, the next 3 games, James Cook went for 132 in the Jets game, 108 in Miami, and then 117 against New Orleans. He went for 49 rushing yards in New England and then 87 yesterday. But that's on 17 carries. And then in the second half, it was starting to manufacture into something where you're like, okay, like
I thought
it was 21-14 with 9 minutes left in the third quarter. I was like, oh yeah, they're in a good spot. If the defense can figure it out, which they did, is now the point where I think I can get into the second half defense. A lot of criticism for Bobby Babbage last night, rightfully so, because like you just cannot keep having these bad, sloppy, slow starts that are putting you behind the sticks, that are putting you behind the scoreboard. You can't have guys like Derrick Henry and Bijan Robinson rush for almost 200 yards, and then they both have over 200 yards total offense between them. Drake London can't have that kind of game. I get that. But I thought the second half adjustments, credit to Bobby Babbage, were very good, and it gave the offense a chance. But the offense let them down, to my point I made earlier too. And that's where it's your head scratching of just being like, well, you had something with James Cook that was working. Why did you feel the need to go away from it? Another acronym, aside from KISS, I like, or just an old saying that I'm a big fan of, is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What was broke about James Cook last night? To my knowledge, nothing. Why go away from it? Why steer that conversation, or why steer the offensive game plan away from that? It takes pressure off of Josh Allen, who looks like he was trying to put the Superman cape on, and the Falcons knew he would, and he just wasn't able to, because if you can't get the ball downfield, you lost Joshua Palmer to an ankle injury. So, like, your one vertical threat that was actually producing for you, like, it just wasn't there the rest of the game. So who's the one guy that has helped Josh Allen in this offense this year, especially, and even going back to last year? Oh, like Bill said, it's James Cook. But he was irrelevant, really, like, in terms of just making meaningful production. Like, he would have some big plays, he would move the sticks, couple big runs, and then poof, gone. I also like the argument of, like, that you need to have a two-back system and get Ray Davis involved. I think that's fair. But you can also just make sure that James Cook is getting lead back touches and lead back carries. And then you supplement that in with Ray and Ty, just like they did last year. I don't know why Joe Brady felt the need to go away from that. And it's a big reason why I think this offense just struggled. I mean, your defense gave up 24 points. They had that garbage time kind of field goal as they drove late in the game. I mean, if you're telling me, Bill, that teams are going to put up 24 points against you, I'm going to pick the Bills 95% of the time, because I'm trusting the Bills offense can put up 24 or more every game. They should be, and they aren't. And that's an area of concern going to the bye week for sure.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It just makes no sense sometimes. I don't know.
I have a nice positive if you want to talk about something that was good. Deion Walker. That guy's good.
Really good.
Deion Walker's good.
I think I saw a stat yesterday that he's got like 7th most tackles for loss, or 4th most, like something like that. I don't know where I saw it. Let me see if I retweeted it. But it was like him tied with someone really good too. He's good.
Most tackles. So he had just so, because we're both, this is great podcasting, as Bill and I are both trying to Google up a stat right now. Deion Walker had 4 tackles for loss last night. Really good pressure on the here's another good thing too. The special teams.
Here it is. Right, I got the tweet.
Deion
Walker is now tied 4th in the NFL for tackles for a loss with Broncos superstar Nick Bonito. Deion is a 21-year-old rotational 4th-round defensive lineman. Kid is special. That's what it says. He's good. He's really good.
Yeah.
There's a few positives. You're right. That was a nice little thing. I think in the midst of like 30 really angry tweets, I had like a Deion Walker's cool tweet, and that was like one of the few nice things I said yesterday.
and then all of a sudden you saw James Cook get taken out after picking off the 7-yard run, and you're just like, oh, okay. And then you tweeted the Uno picture of Joe Brady on the tweet, which was very funny too. Yeah, I mean, listen, we talk about with Jackson Haas too, and like I'm not basing the Haas's performance because they're coming out in a 2 tight end set all game. They only had 2 tight ends, but Jackson Haas and Deion Walker have proven to be by far above and beyond the best draft picks from Brandon Beane this past year. Everybody else, though, a lot of question marks too, and that's another big topic that I'm seeing on Twitter this year, or on just really social media this morning, is the draft picks from Brandon Beane the last 2 years. I saw the 2024 draft class of Keon to Cole to Dwayne Carter, Eddie Ulofoshio, who's not even on this team anymore, Javon Solomon, Tylen Grable. It's on and on and on. That's a big scope picture that I don't want to get into a big conversation of when we're talking about just a post-game recap here. But if you're looking for any sort of bright spot, is that Deion Walker might be the biggest steal that Brandon Beane's ever pulled off in a draft that isn't Josh Allen. That's, because at this point, I don't know, when you draft a guy 7th overall, I don't really know if you call him a steal or not, but let's just say 4th round, sitting there, 1st round grade the year prior. Deion Walker looked really good. Special teams, Bill, we don't ever like, that's what's crazy too, is that we're talking about a Bills loss. They blocked a field goal last night. When was the last time the Bills had a special team splash play? Was that the War of 1812, I believe? I don't think those words have ever been out of my mouth since like Ryan Lindell. Like I haven't said that. I'm sorry, Deontay Hardy in the Dolphins Week 18 regular season game.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, and then actually, this is really bad. Now I'm starting to remember more. Naheem Hines post Damar Hamlin game.
That
That
was
was also
there.
that was sensational as well. But you just don't get to talk about a lot, Bill. Like they're just crazy scenarios, right? Like a playoff clinching punt return, a momentous kick, 2 momentous kick return touchdowns that came after near tragedy for this organization, right? Like it just doesn't happen. And the Bills did that. Great pressure from Greg Rousseau and Deion Walker to come in, load up the left side, and give the offense some life and switch momentum back. But it was all for nothing in the end too. But those are some positives. Was there anything else that on the positive side that you want to help maybe cheer people up right now? It's okay if there's not, because they're just simply might not be.
Shaq Thompson hasn't been so bad. He's been pretty
Mhm.
good.
Yeah, led the team in tackles yesterday, 10 total tackles
Almost,
for Shaq Thompson. So you good to
almost had
see that guy.
huge possible pick 6 that he dropped, but played the ball well, I guess. Yeah, he's solid. I don't know. I mean, defense played pretty good in the second half. That is true. So that was nice. We just flip-flopped a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to a conversation because I wanted to bring this point up about the wide receiver 1 combination. This was a tweet from you I wanted to bring up. I think you tweeted something along the lines of, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Bill, like, I don't care if he's a diva, whatever it may be,
yeah.
I'll take this tweet if it means we get a wide receiver 1. Because that's what, the notion of wide receiver 1s are divas and whatever it may be. But last night, I think it was a good case for like, hey, if you have to bring a guy who maybe has a Stephon Diggs mentality or whatever it may be into this offense, it might help this team out a little bit.
I agree. I tweeted it, so obviously I agree. But yes, it's true, man. I mean, that's like the a lifelong wide receiver like discourse is like, oh, they're divas, and it is a weird position when you think about it. Like, where else could you be? A top 5 player in the league, or even like top 2 on your team, and you touch the ball like 6 times. It's like that's a good day. Like, it's got to get a little nerve wracking, I imagine. Like, you want the ball, you're good. So I understand where it comes from a lot, but dude, give me it. Like, I want to win. I want to win a Super Bowl. So like, I'm done with, and you know what I mean? If you have the Keon, Khalil, I don't know, Curtis or Elijah, whoever you want to pick, and then you just drop in a AJ Brown or Chris Olave or whoever you think is available. Like, that goes from what we're seeing now to like easily a top, probably like 5 wide receiver corps. Like, you have like good pieces, you're just missing the thing that makes it all come together and makes them, electric, or however you want to put it.
Yeah.
It's really that simple to me. Like, you drop in a dog in that wide receiver room. Now you have Keon Coleman, who would be, if we're comparing like we always do to the old teams, like, he would be a better Gabe Davis, in my opinion. I think he's got more reliable hands. I think he's a little more skilled. You have Shakir as the Cole Beasley type, who's more athletic also, like, gives you way more yak, which is what Josh was kind of lacking out of those teams. You just need like that guy, the Diggs, or, I mean, John Brown wasn't anything crazy, but like, he had a 1,000-yard season. He got open downfield. Like, that was kind of what we need him to do. Like, even if you have a dude like that, which I just don't see anyone get open 10 plus yards downfield very often here.
I think those are the guys that helped with Josh's development. Like, Josh became the quarterback that he is because of that, because those were necessary pieces. Josh now needs the guy that helps take that's not for development anymore. It's to finally help take his game to the next level and take this offense to the next level. I go back to, and to your point, like Gabe Davis, I can't really pinpoint what his injury timeline is and when we're even possibly going to see him at all this year. My thought is, like, because Beauvais and I talked about this a lot when they signed him and put him on IR with his injury, but I'm just like, I'd like to see Gabe Davis out there. Maybe a little bit of familiarity might help there too, because what else is there left to lose here? I'm not saying he's your wide receiver 1 fix by any means, but like, Gabe Davis excelled when his time in Buffalo because Stephon Diggs was a wide receiver 1 and commanded attention. Like, it goes back to my point of, like, you have to find somebody not named Josh Allen or James Cook, a receiver that strikes fear into an opposing defense. And the one popular clip that I'm seeing a lot this morning is, I'm sure you remember this too, is when Jeremy White and Joe DiBiase from WGR were on their radio show this spring, and Bean called in and, said, and along the lines of, bitching about wide receiver is one of the dumbest arguments. Looks like a pretty good argument this morning.
Doesn't seem very dumb
It looks
anymore.
like a pretty good argument this morning too, because this offense is just, it's missing a piece, or it's missing some sort of link that makes all these pieces again work the way it did last year when everybody eats was at its best. And I think if there was a time to have that wide receiver one conversation, I know we talked a lot about it, but it would be going to this bye week. It's like you said, Bill, there's a lot of areas this team has to address. I think you can make the case for both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively, but secondary help, receiver help, those are the first two that jump out at me, just because you don't know Max Harrison's timeline. Dorian Strong's on IR. Milano's week to week in the linebacker room too, so you can make an argument there too, but I think they're ultimately going to be fine. It's not doomsday. The Buffalo Bills are still 4-2, and they could very, very well go win a lot of games in a row like they have in years past, make the playoffs, win the division, possibly contend for the 1 seed. But again, when you're talking about a team that was going into last night's game plus 500, top Super Bowl odds, yeah, there's obviously signs of concerns there, and we'll see how this bye week shapes out for them in terms of just rest and relaxation, and them trying to get back to a reset, and then what Brandon Beane in the front office decide to do, that will be very telling as well. All right, Bill, couple last points. Is there anything in there that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention? I'm looking over at my note sheet here, and I think we pretty much touched on everything that I needed to get to.
No, I think we covered all my gripes and anger.
Yeah, it's a big I hope this was a therapy session, and that people were at least trying to come out and use us as some sort of therapy to get over this today. I did pose on Twitter a question, like if you had question, comments, concerns. I had a couple responses, mostly jokes. Howard Simon says, could either of us fix the Bills? I told them I would run a simulation in Madden to figure out if I could. So, Howard, let me get back to you in about a week after I run some tests there too. Mike Catalana, when will the Angels win the World Series? Irrelevant. The Angels aren't even a legitimate franchise anymore, so they can't win the World Series. Mike, joke's on you. Boom, roasted. But I do have a question. Last thing I'll get to here, Bill, from 13 Trout Bum. Hell of a name. Has Josh cashed it in? ? That fire in his eyes is out. Something happened in that locker room, and the culture looks gone. Does the Keon benching point to other problems? Josh has not cashed it in by any means, but there's certain, and far from that, but that look of dejection we talked about earlier, like there's something clearly just not for him. Like his confidence is shattered right now. He just feels like I don't think Josh Allen has confidence in his receivers to go out and make a play for him. I don't think that's a sign of culture, but I do think that there just points to a lack of problems on offense more than it is culture or Josh Allen cashing it in. The Keon benching point to me, I don't think there's more. He was benched for a drive. Like if it was something more serious, Keon would have been benched for longer, missed a game or something like that. But not the thing I'm concerned about there too. It's a good question, but no, I don't think he's cashed it in by any means. Any thoughts there, Bill?
The Josh thing, like, no, I don't think he's cashed it in either at all. I think bad day. We've seen this look out of Josh before. Like it happens a few times a year.
Yeah.
The culture thing, personally, in my opinion, I do believe that at some point the talking and like the scheme and all the stuff that like somebody preaches becomes stale if things don't keep moving in a progressively like good point. And I've said this before, even like maybe through 2 years ago, the year before, the season that offseason, we cut all the older guys. And it was kind of like, at some point, this gets embedded into you that we lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like they've all been on the team. They've all been there over and over. They've heard the same coaching points. They've heard the same, you got to do this. You got, the zone that we get into. And at some point, like if you keep preaching the same thing and it doesn't change, like you're going to lose you're going to lose some of the locker room. Like, not as like, I think they all love Sean. Obviously, they've rallied behind him before. I think he's a good dude. I think he's a good coach. But at some point, what you're preaching, if it doesn't get to the point that everyone's striving for, and we've been knocking on this door over and over, I think you do lose a little bit of the culture. I think you do. There's got to be some doubts, even if it's way back in the back of their head. There's got to be some doubts that are there, and that shows, that like comes out. So it's not like I think they're like quitting on him and they hate him and they want him fired by any means, but it's hard not to feel that way. Like we feel it as fans. I'm sure they feel it as players. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Nope. It's a great point. Great point to end it on there too. The effect obviously just doesn't hold as much when the results don't match up what your message is in the locker room. My very final point, real quick, because I had this was hiding in my notes. The Bills jerseys I thought were sick. They were awesome, but this team just can't wear alternate jerseys and just cannot play international. And just wear the blues all the time and just deal with it, because they just can't have nice things. That's my final point. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This has been the Leading the Charge, the podcast. Thank you for streaming, watching us anywhere you get your podcast, or over on YouTube, wkbw.com. Bye week coming up here. We got some things that I want to hopefully plan to get you some bye week content before we get ready for Carolina the following week. So thank you for tuning in. That's Brother Bill. I'm Dom Tibbetts. Talk to you guys soon.